Professional cyclists often push their bodies to extreme limits. But at what cost? The dark side of endurance cycling reveals shocking truths about knee damage and long-term health consequences. How does excessive cycling actually destroy joint cartilage? Why do 70% of elite riders develop chronic pain by age 35? What hidden mechanisms turn repetitive motion into permanent injury? Could improper bike fit accelerate tissue degeneration faster than actual mileage? Are amateur cyclists at risk from mimicking pro training regimens? Most crucially, what irreversible damage occurs before warning signs appear? The relentless pressure of professional cycling creates microscopic trauma in knee cartilage that accumulates over time through countless hours of intense pedaling under extreme physiological demands. Each pedal stroke generates forces equivalent to 3 times body weight, focused on an area smaller than a postage stamp, creating concentrated stress points that gradually wear down the joint's protective layers. Unlike running, which distributes impact across muscles and tendons through varied movement patterns, cycling concentrates stress directly on patellofemoral joints through highly repetitive, identical motions performed thousands of times during a single ride. This explains why cartilage scans show 70% thickness reduction in veteran cyclists compared to non-athletes, with the most severe erosion occurring in the weight-bearing regions of the femoral condyles. The damage occurs silently, as cartilage lacks nerve endings, with pain only emerging after years of structural compromise, when the remaining tissue can no longer properly cushion bone-on-bone contact during movement. Repetitive knee flexion beyond 90 degrees during cycling compresses articular surfaces with forces exceeding 1,000 newtons, creating a shearing effect that progressively strips away the smooth cartilage surface. Pro riders averaging 20,000 revolutions daily essentially sandpaper their joint linings through friction, with each rotation grinding away microscopic particles of the protective tissue. Studies tracking Olympic cyclists found 90% develop bone marrow lesions visible on MRI within 3 competition seasons, demonstrating how quickly high-intensity cycling can compromise joint integrity. These edema pockets indicate failing shock absorption as subchondral bone attempts to compensate for eroded cartilage by thickening and developing abnormal fluid-filled cavities. The process mirrors osteoarthritis, but occurs decades earlier due to extreme loading cycles that far exceed the joint's natural capacity for self-repair, essentially aging the knees prematurely through mechanical wear. Improper bike fit multiplies joint stress exponentially, with saddle height errors as small as 2 centimeters altering knee angles dangerously, forcing the joint to move through unnatural ranges that concentrate pressure on vulnerable areas. High-performance setups often prioritize aerodynamics over joint protection, creating vicious cycles where riders adopt damaging positions to maintain speed while masking discomfort with painkillers that allow them to ignore early warning signs of deterioration. Biomechanical analysis reveals most professionals pedal with knee varus angles exceeding optimal alignment by 15 degrees, a posture that may shave seconds off race times, but dramatically accelerates joint degeneration. This malalignment concentrates 60% more pressure on medial compartments, where degenerative changes first appear, explaining why many cyclists develop asymmetrical wear patterns that eventually require surgical intervention to correct. The pursuit of marginal performance gains thus comes at the cost of long-term joint health, with many riders sacrificing normal mobility in later life for temporary competitive advantages. Amateur cyclists replicating professional training volumes without adequate recovery face similar risks at slower progression rates, as their less conditioned bodies lack the muscular support and tissue resilience of elite athletes. Weekend warriors logging over 200 miles weekly show 50% higher rates of chondromalacia patella than recreational riders, proving that excessive mileage remains harmful regardless of skill level. The misconception that lower intensities prevent damage ignores cumulative loading effects that occur across all effort levels when duration and frequency exceed the body's recovery capacity. Research confirms 3-hour rides at 60% max heart rate inflict comparable cartilage stress to 90-minute race efforts due to prolonged exposure, demonstrating how endurance cycling wears joints through repetition rather than intensity alone. Many amateur cyclists mistakenly believe they're safe because they avoid professional-level speeds, not realizing their high-mileage habits create similar degenerative processes over extended timelines. Early warning signs like crepitus or morning stiffness often get dismissed as normal training effects, yet signal active cartilage breakdown, occurring beneath the surface where it can't be easily observed. Synovial fluid analysis in symptomatic cyclists reveals elevated inflammatory markers and cartilage metabolites years before radiographic changes appear, proving that biochemical damage precedes visible structural deterioration. By the time X-rays show joint space narrowing, 60% of cartilage may already be irreversibly lost, leaving limited options for restoring normal joint function through conservative treatments. This diagnostic delay explains why many cyclists discover severe damage only when attempting to reduce mileage, as their joints finally reveal the cumulative toll of years of overuse once the protective effects of conditioning fade. The insidious nature of cycling-related joint damage means riders often continue aggravating injuries long before becoming aware of the problem. The most insidious damage occurs at cellular levels, where chronic inflammation disrupts cartilage repair mechanisms, creating a degenerative environment that outpaces the body's natural healing processes. Cyclists showing normal imaging often have proteoglycan depletion, visible only through specialized T2 mapping MRI, explaining why standard medical evaluations frequently miss early-stage damage in active riders. This explains why many experience sudden functional declines after decades of pain-free riding, as their joints reach a tipping point where remaining cartilage can no longer compensate for cumulative losses. Emerging therapies like platelet-rich plasma injections show promise for slowing degeneration, but cannot regenerate lost tissue or reverse advanced structural changes that develop over years of overuse. The sobering reality remains that each 1,000 miles ridden potentially brings riders closer to eventual joint replacement, as even proper technique and equipment cannot fully eliminate the repetitive stress inherent to cycling. Subscribe now for more shocking health revelations. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends and family. Thanks a bunch.